Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side from the clan of Elimelech, a man of standing, whose name was Boaz. I don't know what kind of relation he was. You have to remember that these family clans and family trees were very extensive. I have a pretty small family tree. In fact, for many years, it was pretty much just my immediate family and a few branches of cousins here and there. In my adult life, my siblings have all gotten married, so there is an extension there with these in-laws and stuff. But I'm not even capable of describing to you very clearly about our modern-day family trees. I'm certainly not going to be able to tell you much about the Hebrew concept of families and clans. A relative, these clans are very extensive, so we're not necessarily talking about a brother or a cousin or an uncle or a nephew. I mean, we could be talking about someone who's way out there. It would still be a clansman. It would still be a relative. Now, Naomi had a relative on her husband's side from the clan of Elimelech, a man of standing, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." It's all about doing what is right in your eyes. Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out and began to glean in the fields behind the harvesters. So what's she doing here? Let's go back and talk about this. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum. Oops. This could be a tough one for me to find. Hang on a second. Here it is. Okay, Leviticus 19, verse 9. I actually was here just a moment ago. If I had just stopped a little bit. "When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the alien. I am the Lord your God." So they were supposed to leave some of the stuff on the ground for people to go through, the poor and the alien, the widows and the orphans to go through and pick up for themselves so they would have something to eat. This was part of their, you could call it their welfare program, so to speak. It was part of their provisions for the poor of the land, that anything that fell to the ground was supposed to be left there for the poor to pick up. So that's what Ruth is asking for permission to do here, is to go and glean in the fields and pick up the leftovers after the harvesters have gotten through from the barley harvest. So Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out and began to glean in the fields behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she found herself working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. This would not have been luck or coincidence. This would have been God's providence, although Ruth did not know this, of course, at the time. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you." "The Lord bless you," they called back. These are good guys. Unlike so many of the other people we read about in the time of the judges, these are faithful servants of Yahweh here. Boaz asked the foreman of his harvesters, "Whose young woman is that?" The foreman replied, "She is the Moabitess who came back from Moab with Naomi. She said, 'Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters.' She went into the field and has worked steadily from morning until now, except for a short rest in the shelter." This would have been hot, hard work. She's picking up the remnants, but she's still out in the desert sun. So Boaz said to Ruth, so he's apparently gone up to Ruth now. He was asking about her from somebody else. I guess as they were watching her from a distance, I suppose. Now he's gone up to talk to her directly. My daughter, listen to me. So he's old enough to call her his daughter. So he is not... Ruth herself may only be 20 years old. Who knows? I mean, they were in the land for 10 years. I don't know how long Ruth was married to her husband. But Elimelech and Naomi lived in the land for about 10 years. However long Ruth lived with her husband, it wasn't long enough for her to have a son. So presumably they weren't married for too terribly long. So Ruth could still be a teenager at this point, or maybe 20, early 20s at the oldest. So she's not an old woman by any means. But Boaz is old enough to call her his daughter, so he's not the same age as her. So Boaz said to Ruth, my daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with my servant girls. So he has girls who do stuff for him. Wash the field where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the girls. I have told the men not to touch you. And whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water the jars the men have filled. So she doesn't have to go back to the well every time. At this, she bowed down with her face to the ground. She exclaimed, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner? Boaz replied, I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with the people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be rich. Now, that doesn't mean like in a punishment sense, okay? That means in a blessing sense. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. May I continue to find favor in your eyes, my Lord, she said. You have given me comfort and have spoken kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servant girls. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, come over here, have some bread, and dip it in the wine vinegar. When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men, even if she gathers among the sheaves, don't embarrass her. Rather, pull out some stalks for her from the bundles, and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her. So he's going out of his way to make sure that she has plenty of grain to pick up. He didn't have to do that. That's actually beyond the requirements of the law of Moses. So he's going above and beyond what the law requires. He's one of those guys who looks to the spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law. That's actually what God wants. We're going to read the prophets later on, over and over again, that he talks about not wanting them to just obey the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. You know, that big verse in Micah 6:8, oh my God, is about doing justice. You know, what does the Lord ask of you? To do justly, to seek mercy, and to walk humbly before your God. In the end, that's what it's all about. Jesus himself, when asked what the greatest commandment is, said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's the second one. So all those technicalities, all those specific technical requirements that the rest of the law has to offer are all ultimately about those two things. So it really is a spirit of the law more than a letter of the law sort of thing. Boaz is going above and beyond the letter of the law here to follow the spirit of the law. So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to town. That means 3.5 bushels, about 22 liters. She carried it back to town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered, which was quite a bit, by the way. So Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. I don't know if she has a barrel that she's pushing this in, or she's carrying it or dragging it somehow. I don't know. Her mother-in-law asked her, where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. And then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she had been working, Boaz. The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz, she said. "The Lord bless him," Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. "He has not stopped showing kindness to the living and the dead." So she knows about Boaz. She's heard of Boaz. He has a reputation for kindness, and he has not stopped showing it. So she must have known about his reputation back before she left, in the days before they left for Moab, and he is still showing kindness to both the living and the dead. She added, "That man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsmen redeemers." Then Ruth the Moabitess said, "He even said to me, 'Stay with my workers until they finish harvesting all my grain.'" Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, "It will be good for you, my daughter, to go with his girls, because in someone else's field you might be harmed." So Ruth stayed close to the servant girls of Boaz, to glean until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. One day, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, so this is this isn't too much later, the harvest is still going on, "My daughter, should I not try to find a home for you, where you'll be well provided, or find rest for you, will you be well provided for? Is not Boaz, with whose servant girls you have been, a kinsman of ours? Tonight he'll be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash and perfume yourself, and put on your best clothes." Now what she's saying here, of course, is for Ruth to make herself look attractive. Okay, Ruth is supposed to be trying to entice Boaz here. But when we're talking about best clothes, we're probably talking more about taking off her widow clothes. As a widow, she would have been wearing special widow clothes up till now. So talking about a change in clothing is probably talking more about taking off her widow clothes and putting on other clothes, making it known that she's in the market for a husband again. So wash and perfume yourself, and put on your best clothes. And go down to the threshing floor, which is where Boaz will be, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking, which of course will involve him being slightly intoxicated, because all of their meals in that day and time had wine involved. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, and again, he's got a buzz. He's got a bit of an alcohol buzz here, because he would have been drinking wine as part of his meal. It's okay to say that. It's okay. You don't have to hide from that. Okay, he had wine with his meal, and he had a bit of a buzz. So he was in good spirits. He went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. He's probably on some kind of guard duty here. And I guess they knew it was going to be his turn for guard duty, because he's sleeping there guarding the grain. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, but really we're talking about like pulling his blanket off of his legs, and lay down. In the middle of the night, now she's not like raping him here, okay? She's not like seducing him and like uncovering his genitals and playing with him or something like that, okay? We're not talking about that. She's just taking off the cover off of his legs somehow. In the middle of the night, something startled the man, and he turned and discovered a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a kinsman redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. She's asking him for refuge, like she's asking him to take care of her. This is basically a marriage proposal. "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor." He's an older man. He's an older man and probably would not have been all that attractive to Ruth, which is why he's thanking her for showing him this kindness. She's approaching him with a marriage proposal, which he interprets as an act of kindness. "And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character." And I remember In the Hebrew Bible, this book would actually be following Proverbs. And how does Proverbs end? It ends with, of course, that famous chapter about the life of noble character. Come on. Proverbs 31, starting in verse 10. A wife of noble character who can find? Well, apparently Boaz has found one. She has quite literally shown up at his feet. She has shown up lying next to him in the middle of the night. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am near kin, there is a kinsman redeemer nearer than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem, good, let him redeem. Redeem means to buy back. We'll talk about that more in the next chapter when we actually do this. If he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning. So she's going to be taken care of one way or another. Legally, there's another guy out there who has the right of first refusal because he's a closer kinsman to Naomi. Earl Ahimelech, Naomi's husband, dead husband. So legally, there's someone else out there who has the first right of refusal. But if he does refuse, if he doesn't, so if he takes care of it, he takes care of it. If he offers to buy back, and we'll talk about that in a minute, what that is, he's buying back. That's good. Problem solved. If he doesn't, then Boaz will. So either way, problem's going to be solved. Lie here until morning. So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said, don't let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. So we don't want any rumors or scandals to spread out now. We don't want people to get the wrong idea about what we were doing in here last night. He also said, bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out. When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then he went back to town, or she went back to town. So she's got some more food, more barley. An excuse, a reason for explaining why she was here. She does get found on the way back. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, how did it go, my daughter? Or who are you, my daughter? Then she told everything. So basically, like, who are you? What happened? Are you a new wife? Like, what are you, my daughter, Ruth? Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her and added, he gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until this matter is settled today. So Boaz is going to deal with the problem one way or another. Either he's going to get the kinsman redeemer who is closer in the family tree to Ahimelech than he is to solve the problem, or he's going to do it himself. But one way or another, this issue is going to be solved.